What's going on, everyone? Happy whatever day it is that you are watching this. I get messages all the time, and comments about what are your favorite books. And maybe in another video or podcast, I will do an exploratory, of the books that have been most influential. But if I'm being honest, I didn't really start reading a ton until after I had made a lot of, a relatively high amount of money, right? And I started reading when I had more time, right? So it would be kind of backwards for me to say, hey, these are the things that created my success, when in reality, I feel like I started reading when I had the time and be like, this is really interesting. And so I think that to kind of make this story full circle, before I even started my first business, I was definitely a seeker, which is like you're just looking for something, you're searching for something because you just realize that something's wrong with your life, right? And that's kind of how I felt when I had my consulting job, which is what I took after college. And during that time period, I read all the time. And I remember realizing after 6 or 12 months of just reading book after book after book of self-help and, personal development and like all that kind of stuff, that my life was literally the same. And I remember this was like kind of like a jarring moment for me, because I just sat there, I finished a book, and then I thought to myself, and it was like the happiness advantage or some, whatever, right? And I was like, my life is not any different than it was before I started reading these books. And so I thought about it for a while, and I also realized that half the books contradicted each other, and I was like, man, this is really difficult. And so my conclusion was, I wouldn't read a book unless I executed everything in the book. And so what ended up happening next was I became very, very selective about what books I would read, because I wouldn't get another book until I had felt like I had executed that. And so the result of that was, instead of reading lots of books, I started reading a handful of books a lot of times. And so that was really transformational for me. I think the first book that I read a lot of times was How to Make Friends and Influence People. And I still think to this day, if you just did nothing else in business but just practiced what is in that book, you would be phenomenally successful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you just did the things that are in that book, you'd be phenomenally successful. But that's kind of more like personal traits and character traits and whatnot, which I think are very important for, growing and developing. But in terms of skills, right? And I would say the number one and number two things that I get asked about are like, hey, how did you develop your skill of marketing? And then how did you develop your skill of sales? And truth be told, I never did a single sales training. I never read a single sales book before I started selling. And so I wish I had like a really sexy answer for you, but I don't. I just started selling. And I didn't even know that what I was doing was selling. I was just like, how do I get people to sign up for my gym and give me money? Like, I didn't even know the term was sales at the time. I was just like, I have to get them to give me money. And so I think a lot of people spend way too much time in the like deliberation stage and like you spend all your effort in the, I would say, like productive procrastination space of just like thinking you're getting better, but you would get so much better just doing it, right? And so and people now respect what I have to say about sales because I've sold so much, not because of how many books I've read on sales, right? And so I think that once I was considered very good at sales, I was managing multiple sales teams, and we were doing, a few $100,000 a month. That is the first time I bought a sales product. Like, think about that. And I went through it and I was like, oh, this is good stuff. There's stuff in here that we can use, like, neat. But like, I don't think it fundamentally changed how good I was at selling. And I think that's because so much of selling is about conviction. It's about how much you believe in the product, more so than like the judo chops, right? It's about how much you care about the prospect and how much you care about the product, and convinced that the product will help them. Because if you truly talk from a space of genuine care about a prospect, you won't convince them to do something that they shouldn't do. And if you genuinely believe that your product or service is going to help people, then making the sale is very easy, because it's like, I really care about you and I really know that this product works, and so let me just like help you connect these two dots. And so that's like ultimately, like, that is what selling is and should be. The problem is most people don't believe in their product and they don't care about their prospects, right? And so because of that, they come into all this cognitive dissonance, meaning like they believe themselves to be good people, but at the same time they need to make money, and then those two things become at odds, and that becomes really difficult to sell, because now you're faced with a moral obligation to like your family, to try and provide, and then against yourself to be ethical, right? And that becomes really hard for people, and that's why a lot of sales guys get burnt out when they find out more about whatever they're selling. And so that's why a lot of times sales guys will start out hot and then crash, just because they find out that what they were selling, what they were sold to sell, is actually not what it really is cracked up to be. And then once they find that out, then all of a sudden That's why, in my belief, there's way more churn in salespeople than would otherwise be necessary if they were all selling something they believed in, right? So back to the main point, which is, what do I do if I don't, like, if I have no way of, practicing? Well, I mean, honestly, when I want to do something, what I do is I buy a course about how to do something, and then I follow the course and do it. So if I wanted to make a webinar, then I bought a course on making a webinar, and then I followed the course to make the webinar. And so I learned the skill while I was going through the course. I don't think there's a lot of productive time and usage in learning stuff for the sake of learning. Like, it's like, and I would even make the argument that you don't even truly learn it until you've applied it. And so, like, how do you know if you read 6 books on sales and they have different strategies, which one is the right one? Because you've never tested it in the battlefield, right? It doesn't make any sense. And so, like the same thing with marketing. I never bought a copywriting course. I never bought any courses on how to build landing pages. I never bought any courses on how to run ads. The only thing I did was I spent money one-on-one to get someone to train me literally how to click to run ads for my gym. But I learned a little bit. I learned enough on my own. And so that's the thing, is like, I think there's definitely a space for one-on-one training. I think the biggest gains I've made have been from investing in people who are above me to break my beliefs about what was possible. Because the people who are above you most of the times are not going to, they're not going to hold your hand and teach you how to write copy. This is not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, they might edit, copy you have if you have like a one-on-one relationship, something like that. But for the most part, like, it's going to be up to you to go acquire those skills. And most of the time, acquiring those skills comes from doing them, which means you're going to suck for a while. And I think just most people aren't willing to try because they think that if they are perfect, they'll somehow not fail the first time, which is stupid, because even when you're really good, you're going to fail. So it's just, people like procrastinating, and reading books about something that they haven't done is a productive way of feeling accomplished without actually doing anything. And so I say all this to say, for the many people who ask me, what are my favorite books on sales and marketing? My favorite book on sales is To Get Out There and Start Selling, right? Because if you start selling and then read a book on sales, it will make far more sense to you than trying to read a book on sales before you start selling, because you won't even know what they're talking about, right? Same thing with marketing, right? Like, if you want to go and learn about marketing, the best thing to do is start, learn how to run an ad. You run an ad, do a landing page, and then start getting some people who give you their contact information, and then pick up the phone and call them. Like, you know what I mean? And the easiest thing to do, in my opinion, is the advice that I got from Ezra Firestone years ago, which is give yourself a slush fund, right? Give yourself a learning budget, which is, how much am I willing to, quote, blow this month on failure so I can learn the skills faster? And whatever that percentage is, it might be 10% of what you make every month, it might be 5%, it might be 25%. It just depends on who you are and how stable your income is. But if you just say, I'm willing to give $500 a month to learning the skill, then you don't have this like emotional attachment to whether or not you crush it your first time, because you're seeing this $500 a month investment is truly that, an investment in your education, your investment in trial and error, rather than, like, I bought this course on copywriting, I'm not a millionaire, what's wrong, right? When in reality, you just have to get out there and start doing it. So, anywho, that is my 2 cents. I made most of my money before I started reading a lot of books. I would say, like, seriously, I read maybe 30 books before we, were decamillionaires. You know what I mean? And so I wish I had something better for you, but I focus most of my time on doing and applying. And when I start applying, then I will go read for specific solutions to a bottleneck that I have, rather than trying to learn an amorphous topic by reading words from multiple books and trying to get perspectives, different angles on problems I've never even encountered yet.
Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, wow, I should be further ahead by now? If you're trying to make money online or start your first business and feel overwhelmed, you're not alone. Every day you see other people succeeding and you wonder, why am I not succeeding? Maybe you don't like your job or you're unfulfilled. You want to do something you love and make money, but you feel stuck, bored, confused, or maybe all three. I get it. I spent years in the exact same spot, afraid to fail, but ashamed of being afraid. And it wasn't until I paid another business owner to teach me how to run a local business that I felt comfortable starting my own. He showed me the ropes and gave me the confidence to start. And after scaling my local gym chain from learning this stuff from him, I started a company called Gym Launch, which I sold years later for $46.2 million. Now, what I want to do is repay the favor. I want to show you the ropes the exact way that business owner did for me. And as the person with the largest community on Skool, which I'll tell you about in a second, I can show you exactly what to do. You can start your own online community business today with all the things I didn't know when I started my first business for free with the Skool games. So imagine building a business being as easy as playing a video game with step-by-step instructions, live workshops, real-time leaderboards, and new friends to make it fun. If all that were true, would you at least be interested? Okay. Now, you might be wondering, well, what exactly is Skool? How do the Skool games work? How much does it cost? Do I need to be an expert? Do I need an audience? What are the prizes? Great questions. Let me break it down for you. Skool games is a fun, easy way to build your online business. No experience or followers needed. Just simply choose a painful experience you overcame, something you find interested or you're passionate about, or some skill you learned throughout your career, no matter how small. It could be as simple as a better way to organize folders, or meal prepping for kids who have food allergies, or travel hacks. And then all you have to do is just invite people to community about overcoming that pain, following that passion, or learning that skill. And we'll show you exactly how to build it and monetize it on your first try. Now, if that sounds insanely simple, that's because it is. So check it out. More than 1 out of 2 people who start a paid community in Skool make money. That means by your next reunion, instead of answering, what are you up to these days? You could be answering, how'd you do that? And could you help me? And the thing is you probably could, because it's not that hard. Right now, people are paying hundreds, sometimes thousands to get into digital communities the same way they do nightclubs or cafes. Just think about it as a place where lots of people who want to talk about the same stuff can gather together, and people pay to get in. And the crazy thing is people are selling courses and coaching programs for thousands and tens of thousands on how to build a business like this because it's so profitable. But what if there were a faster, easier, zero-risk way to learn how to do this for yourself? What if you could learn how to start, scale, and monetize an online group the right way on your first try for free? Would you at least consider it? All right. So for those of you who want more out of life, an online community takes the least amount of time to get started. You can literally make money in hours. It requires the least skill. If you can invite people to a party, you can make this business work. And you don't need to be an expert. You just invite those people and let them do the heavy lifting for you. It's kind of like Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not the expert at anything. They just bring the people together and then they are the online de facto experts. It's even faster than building a course or starting a coaching program because you don't need to have all the answers for that exact reason. Interested yet? Good. Because Skool Games was designed to smash through every obstacle that once stood in the way of starting an online business. It's why we have such an insanely high success rate. We've obsessed for years about removing everything that stops people from succeeding. And that's why with the Skool Games, you can succeed without an audience or expertise. Because let's face it, most people don't. And so we had to figure out a way to help people win. And of the 5 out of 7 communities I talked about earlier who won the Skool Games in their first month, only 2 of them had organic followings before they started. You don't need any fancy software, calendars, payment processing. Everything you need is already built into Skool. And you don't even have to know what your community is going to be about yet. I'll show you how to pick it. It's simple, and you can do it in less than 20 minutes. And if you're wondering, well, how do I get people invited to my community? Don't worry, you don't have to ask people you know. We've made it simple to crowdsource your community, just like Evelyn did through Skool itself on the millions of users we already have on the platform. As for tech skills, you don't need any. If you have the technology to watch this video right now, you already have all the tech you need to start, scale, and succeed. So what happens if you sign up right now? Well, you'll follow our process, you'll build a paid community about whatever it is you love, and if you become one of the top 10 communities on the leaderboard, you'll join me and other successful community owners here in Vegas. And even if you don't win the first month, you get to keep competing every month until you win. And then you can join all the alumni and all the past winners to get to the next level. Worst case scenario, you join, you do nothing, you decide to quit and walk away with thousands of dollars worth of knowledge that you can take with you on whatever business venture you want next. Best case scenario, you take a zero risk move and change your life forever. Or maybe you're just like Kyle, who's never won the games, never got in the top 10, and just built a community that makes him $4,664 a month in recurring revenue. He didn't win any awards, but would 3, 4, 5 grand a month change things for you? If so, then you're in the right place. Remember, the only guarantee is that if you don't take the shot, you'll stay exactly where you are. But if you do, you could be the next one coming out to Vegas celebrating how quickly you built an online business with consistent monthly recurring revenue. You in? Click the button below to join the Skool Games now. If you join this month, I'll personally onboard you live. Sign up and I'll see you on our onboarding call on Monday. You can ask me whatever you want. Now, if you're worried about starting a free trial, we offer an unconditional money back guarantee. So if you finish your trial and you forget to cancel, just let us know and we'll refund you. All right, we just want people to win. And I'm going to say this one more time because it's important. 1 out of 2 people who start a paid community in Skool make money, with the average paid community owner earning $1,360 per month. You really can do this. Click the button and let's get started.